Imagine this. You're sitting in a room that suddenly feels too big, too quiet, too empty, even though she's still standing right there. And you realize in real time that the most dangerous moment of your life isn't a rocket exploding on the pad. It's not a factory line shutting down. It's not even the market crashing or the world turning on you. It's this. The moment someone you can't lose starts moving toward the door, and you're sitting there, frozen, watching the one thing you can't engineer, can't optimize, can't solve with money or willpower, beginning to slip away. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what I said when I felt her leave before she even moved. The words that came out when I realized I'd spent my whole life preparing for every failure except this one. Stick around, because this isn't just about me. It's about what happens when you finally understand that all the success in the world means nothing if the person who saw the real you decides they can't stay anymore. Look, picture this for a second. You're not just anyone. You're someone who has built things that weren't supposed to exist. You've defied physics, governments, critics, the entire establishment. You've put cars in space. You've made rockets land themselves. You've wired human brains to computers. You've bet everything on problems most people don't even think about. And somehow, against every odd, you've won. Again and again and again. But here's what nobody tells you about winning that much. You start to believe you can solve anything. You start to operate like the universe is just a set of variables waiting to be optimized. And then one day, you're sitting across from the one person who made the noise feel quieter, the pressure feel lighter, the mission feel like it had a reason beyond survival, and she's telling you she can't do this anymore. And in that moment, all your wins feel like dust. Because the one problem that actually matters, the one connection that made you feel human instead of a machine, is the one thing you can't code your way out of. That's where this starts. Not with a victory, not with a headline, with loss. With the suffocating realization that you're about to lose the only thing that made all the other things worth it. So we're in this room, just the two of us, and I can feel it before she even says the words. You know that feeling when the telemetry starts going red and you're watching the numbers cascade and you just know, something is about to fail? That's what this felt like. Except worse. Because with rockets, you have abort protocols. With this, there's no backup system, no redundancy, no second stage. She's standing near the window, arms crossed, not looking at me. And that's how I know. Because she always looked at me. Even when I was impossible. Even when I disappeared into work for weeks. Even when I was more present on Twitter than I was in the room with her. She looked at me like I was still a person, not a brand. But now she's staring out at nothing, and I can see it in her posture. She's already halfway gone. And I want to say something smart. Something that fixes it. Something that reframes the problem and presents a solution. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. But my brain won't work. It's like the whole system just crashed. Because for once, I don't have an answer. I just have fear. So I say the only thing that's true. I say it quiet. Almost broken. Don't go. That's it. 2 words. And they land in the room like a confession I didn't know I was holding. Because I've never said that to anyone. Not like that. Not without armor. Not without a plan B, or a pivot, or a way to make it sound less desperate. But this time, there's no strategy. There's just the truth. And the truth is, I don't know how to do this without her. She doesn't turn around right away. And that silence, God, that silence, it's heavier than anything I've ever carried. Heavier than the pressure of a quarterly earnings call. Heavier than the weight of 10,000 employees depending on you. heavier than the responsibility of making sure humanity doesn't go extinct. Because all of that, that's external weight. This is internal. This is the weight of realizing you built an empire but forgot to build a life. And now the one person who was your life is about to walk out of it. Finally, she turns. And I see her face. And it's worse than I thought. Because she's not angry. Anger I could deal with. Anger means there's still fire, still fight, still something to work with. But she just looks tired. Tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Tired in a way success doesn't impress. Tired in the way that only comes from loving someone who's always halfway somewhere else. And she says, voice steady but soft, Elon, I can't keep being the thing you come back to when the mission lets you breathe for 5 minutes. That line hits me like a hull breach. Because she's right. And I hate that she's right. Because I didn't mean for it to be that way. I didn't mean to treat her like a safe harbor I only visited between storms. But intention doesn't matter when the result is the same. The result is that she felt like an option, a backup plan, the thing I returned to after I'd given everything else my best energy. And you can't love someone like that. You can't ask someone to wait in the margins of your life and expect them to stay whole. So I do the thing I never do. I stop trying to defend myself. I stop trying to explain the mission, the stakes, the reasons, because the reasons don't matter to her anymore. She's heard them all. She's lived them all. And they didn't keep her warm on the nights I wasn't there. They didn't hold her when she needed to be seen. They didn't make her feel like she mattered more than the next product launch. I just say, voice cracking in a way I haven't heard in years, I'm nothing without you. And I mean it. Not in a romantic movie way, in a structural way. Because she wasn't just someone I loved. She was the tether, the gravitational constant that kept me from flying apart. You can be brilliant and broken at the same time. You can be powerful and completely hollow. And without her, that's what I am. A machine running at max capacity with no reason to keep running. She closes her eyes when I say it, like it hurts to hear. And maybe it does. Because maybe she wanted me to realize that before it got to this point. Before she had to pack her things, before she had to decide that loving me was costing her more than it was giving her. And I think about all the nights I chose the mission over her. Not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't know how to love her and the mission at the same time. Because my brain doesn't do balance. It does obsession. And obsession is a terrible companion for intimacy. Obsession wants control. Intimacy requires surrender. And I never learned how to surrender. She finally speaks again, and this time her voice shakes just a little. She says, do you even know what it's like to love someone who's never fully present? To feel like you're always competing with something bigger than you? To wonder if you're just convenient? And that word, convenient, it cuts deeper than anything she's said. Because I never thought of her that way. But I can see how it looked, how it felt. I show up when I need grounding. I reach for her when the noise gets too loud. I come back when the loneliness becomes unbearable. But when things are good, when the mission is moving, I disappear. I vanish into the work, into the next problem, into the next horizon. And she stayed anyway. For years, she stayed. Not because it was easy, but because she believed in something I didn't even believe in myself. She believed I could be more than the mission, that I could be human, that I could let someone in without it feeling like a structural weakness. But belief runs out. Even the strongest belief has a fuel limit. And she's been running on fumes for longer than I realized. So I stand up. I move toward her. Not fast, not aggressive, just closer, because distance is the enemy right now. And I say, barely holding it together, I know I'm late. I know I should have said this a long ago, but I need you to hear it now. She looks at me. Really looks. And I see the same thing I saw the first time we met. The same sharpness. The same depth. But now there's something else. Exhaustion. The kind that comes from carrying hope for two people when only one of them was trying. And I say the thing I should have said years ago. I say, you're not convenient. You're not a break from the mission. You're the reason the mission ever made sense. Because what's the point of saving humanity if I can't even save the one connection that made me feel human? Her eyes fill. Not dramatically, just quietly. The way they do when someone hears the truth too late. And I hate that it's too late. I hate that I didn't wake up sooner. I hate that it took her leaving for me to realize what I had. But here's the thing about loss. It clarifies everything. It strips away all the noise, all the justifications, all the logical reasons you told yourself things were fine, and it leaves you with the raw truth. The truth is, I built rockets to escape. I built companies to prove something. I built a future for humanity because the present was too painful to sit in. But she made the present bearable. She made it worth staying in. And I was too blind to see it, so I do something I never do. I beg, not with words, with everything, with my posture, with my eyes, with the crack in my voice. I say, please, don't go. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I've failed you in every way that matters. But I'm asking anyway, because losing you feels like losing the part of me that was still alive. And she just stands there, tears falling silently. And I can't tell if they're goodbye tears or maybe tears. I can't tell if I've lost her already or if there's still a chance. And that uncertainty is torture. Because I'm someone who needs to know outcomes. I model scenarios. I calculate risk. But right now, I have no data. Just hope. And hope is terrifying when you're used to certainty. She finally speaks, and her voice is so quiet I almost don't hear it. She says, Elon, I don't want to be your regret. I don't want to be the person you finally noticed after I left. I want to be the person you chose when it was still a choice. And that destroys me. Because she's right, I didn't choose her. Not really. I kept her. I held on. But I never fully chose her. I never restructured my life around her the way I restructured entire industries around a vision. I never gave her the kind of focus I gave to a failing production line. And that's the failure. Not that I worked hard, but that I never made her feel like she was part of the mission instead of a distraction from it. So I say, and I mean every word, then let me choose you now. Let me prove that I can do this differently, that I can be present, that I can build something with you that's worth more than anything I've built alone. She looks at me for a long time, and I can see her calculating, running her own simulation, weighing the past against the possibility, weighing the pain against the hope. And I realize this is the most important pitch of my life. Not to investors, not to the public, to her. The one person whose opinion actually matters. And I don't have slides. I don't have data. I don't have proof. I just have the wreckage of what I've done and the desperate promise of what I could be. And then she says something that breaks me and gives me hope at the same time. She says, I don't know if I have anything left to give you. And I realize that's not a no. It's an empty tank. It's a system that's been pushed past its limits. But it's not a no. So I say, voice shaking, then don't give me anything. Let me give to you. Let me be the one who shows up. Let me be the one who stays. Let me prove that I'm not just the mission, that I'm yours. And the silence that follows is the longest of my life. Longer than any countdown. Longer than any flight. Because this is the moment. The moment where she decides if I'm worth the risk, if love is worth the risk, or if the cost has finally become too high. And I stand there, heart pounding, every instinct screaming at me to fix it, to control it, to engineer a solution. But I can't. Because this isn't engineering. This is faith. This is trust. This is the most human thing I've ever done. Letting go of control and just asking someone to stay. Not because I deserve it, but because I finally understand what I'll lose if they go. And if she walks out that door, I know exactly what I'll become. The same thing I was before her. Successful, powerful, accomplished, and completely, utterly alone. A man who conquered everything except the one thing that mattered. Connection. So I wait. And I hope. And I say one last time, barely a whisper, don't go. Please. I'm nothing without you.